Well, that was the film adaptation of Wuthering Heights from 1939, and I'm joined once again by Kristen Lopez, the author of the new TCM book. But have you read the book, 52 Literary Gems That Inspired Our Favorite Films? Hello again.
Hi.
So let's talk about that ending, because you mentioned before the film that this movie only comprises of about the first 34 chapters of the book. So what do you make of this very romantic Hollywood ending?
It's a very romantic version of the story, and it does blend some of Bronte's Gothic elements, the ghostly concept of Heathcliff and Catherine being together in death, walking along the moors for all eternity, when really the Gothic element is that Heathcliff feels that he is tormented and haunted by Catherine. So the concept of them being together in spirit takes on a different tone in the book because it's more like they're doomed to be together. You know, one literally cannot exist without the other. Both the film and the novel have happy endings, but they're very different in the spirit. So it really does depend on what type of feeling that you want with which version you're working with.
Speaking of feeling, that's what I remember most about reading this book in high school was the Gothic romance, the doomed romance, the Yorkshire moors. This film, of course, was shot in Southern California. But what do you think about the way that William Wyler and cinematographer Greg Toland captured the mood and the spirit of the book?
Yeah, this was the only Oscar the film won was for Greg Toland's cinematography, and he does such a breathtaking job. I mean, that opening sequence with Miles Mander's character coming to Wuthering Heights, it's suitably dark and creepy. You don't really know what's going to happen. And yet it's all beautifully contrasted with the sequences of young Heathcliff and young Catherine out on Penistone Crag, which the heather was real, even though they did not actually film it on the moors. There's such a sparkling beauty to it and a freedom and a wildness. It's just sparkles like a diamond. So I can definitely see why he won the Oscar for this. Although I think it should have gotten more Oscars, but you cannot be anything but blown away by watching this movie, whether it's on a big screen or a small screen.
And a tough year of 1939. So many great movies to choose from that year. But when it comes to reading a book that has a film adaptation, I know for me, I really enjoy reading a book as almost like you get extra backstory. Maybe you get the future of the characters, like with Wuthering Heights. What does it do for you when you read a book that you've already seen the film first?
You know, for me, I really do feel like I'm getting some sort of extra Easter egg or back in the past with DVD feature element to it. You really do get the bigger breadth of a story when you go back and you read the book and you realize maybe characters exist that didn't exist on screen or characters die in a different fashion. In this case, I understand why they only focused on the first 34 chapters, but to read Bronte's full text, it just gives you a really great example of how generational trauma can turn into love eventually. These characters grow. We see them mature and we see them hopefully try to undo the past in a way that the first set of characters couldn't accomplish. So I think it does add more context and a deeper meaning when you go back and read the source material of something that is in our consciousness already.
And being someone who is both a reader and also a longtime viewer of TCM, how does it feel for you to see your name on a TCM book?
It is incredibly surreal. It has not hit me yet. I feel like one day I will just be blown away by the whole thing, but I haven't gotten there yet. So it's very bizarre and exciting to me to get to be writing a book about a topic I love for a network I love that celebrates so many of the films I love. I'm just so honored to get to be a part of.
Well, I hope you can soak it in, take it in, be proud of all the work that you did. And thank you, Kristen Lopez, for joining us on TCM tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And Kristen Lopez will be back with me after the break to talk about another film adaptation, this one from 1945 starring Joan Crawford.